it's Ari, and welcome back to Raise Your Voice, episode 8. So today it's just gonna be me. I know, solo episode. I haven't done a solo episode since episode 2. I just wanted to clarify some reasons about why I'm ending the series, because I know I didn't go in depth with it 2 weeks ago. But yeah, let me just explain it real quick. Actually, not real quick. This is gonna be a long intro, I'm not gonna lie. So first of all, it's kind of super difficult to make episodes with my schedule right now. Like, I know I'm in quarantine and stuff, and I actually technically do have a lot of time on my hands, but the thing is, I plan each episode at least a week in advance, and especially with episodes with other guests, it's even more difficult because I have to work with the guests to plan the episodes, and we have to write down what we'll be saying, and then later on we record for at least an hour and at most 2 hours. And then I'll edit for at least 4 hours at most. I think it's been 10 hours of editing. And then I upload, which is really awful if you were here for my last episode where we were trying to get it to upload. But, I do all this while also staying active on RYV. I event. I handle my commissions. And, actually, since I actually took a break this week. Okay, let me explain. Today, it's Saturday. And tomorrow is going to be when I upload this, and I've been kind of holding off on this episode for a week, even though I wrote it actually last week, because I've been trying to catch up on my really overdue commissions, and I finally finished them. So yeah, that took a long time. But anyway, yeah, I handle my commissions, and then I also do schoolwork, which is also awful because my teachers keep throwing so much work at me. And it's really awful. I really hate it. But school's ending soon. But I don't know, it's just really tough for me to keep on making these episodes almost every week. I've taken a few breaks, as you can tell from my really inconsistent upload schedule. And I don't know, I think I'm just running out of topics anyway. There's only so much you can talk about in a game that doesn't really change that much. I mean, there is drama, but I did address in one of my previous episodes that I'm not really here for drama most of the time, so I can't really cover it. But I don't know. I just think it's really nice to close out the series soon, especially because I'm gonna head off to college soon. I don't know. I think it's just gonna be nice to focus more on my art and my YouTube channel in general, because most of you who are listening to this probably won't know this, but I'm not a high-res YouTuber. I normally post music and gaming stuff, and I haven't done that in literally 2 months, maybe 3 months actually, because I've just been so stuck with this podcast and I've been so busy making this podcast. I think the worst part about this all is that I've noticed that the engagement with this series is going down. Which is really makes me panic because I do all this work, and then some of my episodes don't make it. Some of the episodes are really popular, but it's just I don't like having that kind of hit or miss. I hate that. I hate saying that phrase, but I don't like having a hit or miss kind of episode where I don't know if it's gonna do well, or I don't know if people will like it. I don't really like doing that anymore, and I don't know, I think it would just be better to focus my energy into something else now. I do have a few new series ideas in my head for my YouTube channel and on RYV, so those are gonna be fun to work with. I think in general I'm just not really good at committing to one thing for a really long time, especially if over time it becomes more of a chore than something that's really fun to me. And that's kind of what this podcast has been now. It's kind of more something I stress over rather than something that's really fun. So that kind of hurts to say, but it's true. So I don't know, it was just kind of a really hard decision to make, but I knew when I started this series, I knew that it just wouldn't last long. Mostly because, like I said, I'm going to college soon and I have to end it eventually, but also because I'm not that popular on RYV. People know me, kind of, people know the series, I guess, but it's not something that's super popular. My intention was to make it up to that level, but I don't think that's gonna happen. And I kind of the thing with me is that I know when things are not gonna go well, so I kind of just end it before it can get to that point. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I promise you that these last 2 episodes are gonna be pretty okay, but you guys will see what I mean when it comes out. But anyway, let's move on. Like I said, this is the 8th episode, and I do plan on having 2 more episodes to complete the series. I was really struggling to know when to end it because, like, I have, like, so many ideas that I want to make into episodes, but they're not gonna fit. And it was just really hard to decide, like, how many more episodes that I want to make. And, I decided on 2. Also, I kind of just don't want to end it on, like, an uneven number, like 11 or, like, 15 or something. I wanted to end it on 10 because that's really nice. It's a nice number, That makes no one cares about this. But anyway, that being said, unfortunately, I've chosen my last guest for the last 2 episodes. So if you applied and I didn't contact you, unfortunately, I've made my decisions and I'm not going to be accepting any more applications. I'm super sorry. I really wanted to include as many people as possible, but I know, like, I couldn't. I actually did want to talk about something else as well. This is, like, a long intro, I know, I'm so sorry, but, like, people have messaged me, like, asking why I've been choosing a lot of content creators, and the reason for that is it's, like, literally not, like, a specific reason, like, I hate non-content creators, that's not it, okay? It's just because they're easier to work with because I know them, and, like, we're buddies, like, I talk to them pretty, not frequently, but I've talked to them before, and they're just easier to work with, in my opinion. I think the only time I really jumped into a pool of, like, complete strangers was episode 6 with iRussia, Binder Clip, and JoJo. That's the only time I've like completely jumped into the dark. How do you explain this? They had, like, good chemistry with each other, so I didn't really feel that off with them. But, like, everyone else who's applied, like, if you haven't ever talked to me ever, it was really unlikely that I would have chosen you because, like, I just don't know you. So anyway, that's kind of really off topic, but I wanted to address that because I'm really sick of people saying, like, you only pick content creators. That's literally not, it just so happens that I have content creator friends. What a surprise, The bottom line is I'm not going to be accepting any more applications, and I'm really sorry. I do want to encourage you guys to, quote, raise your voice on any topics, high-rise related topics, by making posts and sharing your opinions and thoughts on high-rise by using hashtag raise your voice, because that way I'll definitely see them, and plenty of other people will too. I really like when you guys speak out against, like, the stuff that I talk about, especially in the comments. I read all the comments and I read, like, all the posts and stuff that you guys make about the podcast. I read all of those, and I really like that because to me it feels like you guys are responding to me, and I don't know, it's just really nice to know that people actually listen and people will actually respond and people have opinions. Even if it doesn't agree with mine, I still like hearing about it. So if you're ever interested in responding to me, go ahead, use the hashtag. I really won't mind. I mean, as long as it's related and you're not posting selling posts on it, unlike some people, then it's completely fine. So that was a 10-minute intro with the raw recording, so we're gonna get started. Okay, so if you haven't already known from the title, today's episode is gonna be all about cruise. I really wanted to do an episode about cruise because lately I've been doing episodes about content creating and art, and that's kind of it. That's all I remember, and economy, but I haven't done anything about cruise. The idea for this episode was suggested by a few people who've messaged me, like, ideas for the show and stuff, so I'm really, really grateful if you're one of those people, because this is a topic that I can go off on because I'm a crew owner and I've been in plenty of crews. I will talk about that later. I've been in a lot of crews, and I haven't talked about it yet on the podcast, and it's really odd to me that I haven't, so I'm really sorry. But anyway, let's just get straight into it. I've been talking for the intro for too long. Our first topic today was specifically suggested by one of you guys, and it's basically all about friendly competition versus toxic rival. Let me repeat that. It's all about friendly competition versus toxic rivalry between crews on high rise. And first, before we even get into it, let me define what I think those two things mean. So I think friendly competition is just, competing for fun or competing for yourself. And, it's like things like congratulating the other team when they win, or like being a good sport about stuff. And then toxic rivalry, I can't say it. Toxic rivalry is kind of like constantly having it out for the other crew and getting really just toxic and dramatic and upset when one team wins and the other doesn't. And the difference between those, like, you can have a rivalry while being friendly. Making it toxic is when you add like all this hate into it. Maybe not hate, maybe that's not the right word, but like adding like negativity into it. I guess I am not good at explaining things, guys. I haven't done a solo episode in literally like months. Okay, I've literally written a 10-page script for this video and I'm still stumbling over my words because I'm just not good at talking to myself for this long. Just bear with me, okay? I think it's really important to know that it's not the end of the world when you're on a losing team. For me, it's been really hard to accept that because I'm personally really competitive and I can be a really sore loser, like really, really sore. And it's taken me a long time to realize that it's best to just let the winning team have their moment for working hard just as much as you did, or even maybe more. And this kind of like, I kind of learned this because of grab contests actually, because like I used to be really, really, really upset when I wouldn't win grab contests, because usually I only enter contests if I'm pretty sure that I'm going to win or if I'm like feeling really confident. But you know, when you have that mindset of like I'm going to win and then you don't win, you get really, really sore about it, and that's kind of something I'm still working on, but you know, it's getting there. Back to crews though. Okay, I will admit I don't know what it's like to win first place, but I definitely know what it's like to place second, because I've been in crews where I would place second place or third place, you know, all the time. I've never hit first, so maybe I can't really speak for a lot of this, but I just think in general it's really important to keep things friendly on high rise and just promote positivity as much as you can, even if something negative happens to you, like you lose a competition. Like, there's no need to be really toxic towards another group just because they won. Like, let them have their moment, you know, like they worked hard. Just let them be, you know. But let's talk about crew mentality for a bit though, because I can relate to this a lot, as I kind of go through this in real life. Maybe not anymore because I'm in quarantine, but you know, I went through it for 4 years. I'll talk about that later. But basically, I've read an article in the past few days about how to create a healthy competitive mindset. And yes, I read this article just for this video because I know what to say, but I don't know how to say it. So like, I needed help trying to explain my thoughts into words. So I read this article. And basically, like I said, it's just ways to create a healthy competitive mindset. So the first like tidbit, I've never used that word. The first bit was about associating winning with effort. What that means in this context is that if you lose something, you need to convince yourself that you didn't actually lose. Going back to like the real life thing, I'm in this competitive sport activity thing called color guard. It's basically like a dance aerobic I don't know how to explain it. You just kind of have to watch videos on it, you'll understand. But I'm in that in real life, and I've been in that for 4 years, and we have had our share of wins and losses. Like every single fall season we've been in, we've never won like won. Like we've won competitions when we were the only team in the bracket, but we've never like really like won, you know. I think understanding this concept of like associating winning with effort, it helps me a lot with my sore loser trait, because over the years I've always felt really bummed out whenever we lost those competitions, especially because we win a lot in the spring/winter seasons. I literally have like 3 golden medals like chilling right next to me right now, but I don't know, you kind of have to tell yourself that you're not really competing for those medals or placements, but instead you're competing for like personal growth and improvement. So in the case of high rise though, if you're aware that your crew has worked super, super hard and you're really proud of everything that everyone has accomplished, that's something to celebrate. Like, you shouldn't feel bad about that. Even if you got second place and you were like off from first place by like 1 million, that's still something to celebrate because you were close and you all worked super hard, and even though you didn't really technically make it, it's still something that you should be really happy about. Because imagine all the other crews behind you, they must feel really bummed out too. But I don't really know how to explain this. It's kind of associated with humility too. You've gotten so far, and people will do anything just to get in your position. So like, you should be grateful, I mean, that you're even in the position, you know? You shouldn't feel down, and you should definitely definitely not bash the winning teams just because you didn't come out as a winner. It confuses me while people do that, because there's literally no reason to, and it just hurts you and the other team, and it doesn't bring any good. The second thing from this article is defining success. So success is pretty subjective to me, but my coach in real life has always just told us from day one of me joining the team that success doesn't mean medals and placements, like I said, but it's about learning and improving your personal skills, and it's not all about winning. When it comes to high rise, if you beat your personal records, it should be celebrated, like I said. So if you know that you've done really, really well, you've succeeded. Like, I think you've succeeded. I don't know. I think personal growth is really, really great. Imagine if there was like no competition at all and your goal was to get like the highest amount of tickets as a crew together. I don't know, man. I just think you get what I'm saying, right? Like like, it's not all about the placements and stuff. It's really solely all about you guys as a crew and you guys as like a team working together. Man, I'm really bad with words. Anyway, I'm so sorry. But anyway, let's just move on, bro. I'm so sorry. Okay. The third thing I kind of taken from this article is to just remember that there's always going to be more chances to improve, and especially chances to bounce back. Going back to color guard again, there's this in competitions, there's this thing called recovery points. So basically we get judged on like our technique and performance and like general effect and stuff, but a really good way to earn points when you mess up is to just recover immediately, because it shows the judges is that you know what you're doing and you're able to like keep the show going even if you mess up. And it's kind of the same way with high-rise crews, so if you mess up or you like lose, I guess, then you should know that there's an opportunity to bounce back and improve and do better, and you just have to take it instead of focusing on what you messed up in. I think it's really dumb to get upset over one instance for no reason when there's a lot more opportunities to make things better. Like, we're always gonna have events, I'm pretty sure, and we're always gonna have like competitions, between crews. So making drama over stuff like this that just happens basically once, I guess, is really childish. And then sure, you might be wondering, like, how about rivalries? Like, how about two crews that are always just pitted against each other, that are always like, against each other? There's, like I said earlier, there's a way to have a rivalry while also being friendly. It's not about trying to get it to each other's throats and like kill each other. You can compete without letting it get to your head. So lately I think this has improved a lot. Like, lately I've been seeing top crews like saying good game, or like top crews being like, congrats, you guys were good competition and stuff. Dude, that's great. Like, that's super great. When I joined high rise, there were one to three crews that were literally always pitted against each other, and people would get so toxic for no reason. Actually, I don't even know. There is no because to it. Like, there's really no reason. People would be so mean to each other, and it was just really dumb because there's just no reason to. Like, why are you getting mad? Unless something like personally happened to you, like unless there's like personal like drama or personal like threats or something, then okay, maybe I would be pretty upset too. But like, if it's over like winning, or if it's over losing, or over just doing better than the other crew in general, it's so dumb to get like upset over that. But anyway, let's talk about something else, because honestly, I'm not too qualified to talk about this because I've never had like a crew rivalry, I guess. I've never like been in it, but I've seen it. I think it's still just in general really important to know that you can be competitive and you can also be really toxic, and it's better to choose friendly competitive than toxic competitive, if that makes any sense. So anyway, let's completely move on. So our next topic is about crew hopping. There are two definitions I have for crew hoppers actually. So the first definition for crew hoppers that I have are those people who just stay in crews to get the rewards, but they don't really event, and they end up just jumping to another crew because they got kicked out. I think that's actually more called piggybacking or rather than crew hopping, but I don't know. Some people have defined crew hopping is that. I think my main definition is just a crew hopper is just someone who jumps around in different crews really frequently because they're looking just for temporary groups. According to that definition, I actually used to be a crew hopper, and it's just because I had a really hard time finding a crew that was like a perfect fit for me. So I was in 3 main crews before I created my crew, and in between being in those groups, I would jump around to small eventing crews and just big eventing crews too, but it just depended on what I needed. And it's just because I still want to event and get rewards, so I needed a crew every once in a while, so I couldn't just be homeless. Especially for fashion, I definitely couldn't be homeless. I don't mean homeless in real life, I mean homeless means like you don't have a crew. So fashion was the best event for me to crew hop around because I could just event on my own terms. Usually when I event in fashion personally, I like having really low requirements for the first few themes to just save up like boosts and energy and stuff, and then I'll go all out in one of the last like 2 themes. But not all crews use this strategy though. I see a lot of crews that just have a set requirement for every single theme in fashion, like you have to make 10 mil in every or like 1 mil or something. I don't really like that, especially when I was in top eventing crews. I used to be in one that would go all out for multiple times throughout the event, and it was just really difficult for me to keep up with because I don't spend gold during events. I literally never spend gold during events. So it was just really difficult for me to catch up with everyone because everyone could spend gold, like they were rich enough to do that. So I would just go to a different crew for each theme based on which requirement they had, so I could make their requirement but also be, eventing. So that way it was kind of like eventing on my own terms, but I was kind of also sort of helping out small crews that needed the help and, were having a hard time ranking. And throughout this experience, sometimes crews were really difficult to find because ideally admins are looking for permanent members because it's just less hassle to deal with. So sure, a lot of crews would deny me once in a while because I was looking for something temporary. I don't think I've ever gotten denied because of my tickets, which I'm kind of surprised with because I used to never have like a watermark on my tickets. Anyway, I should probably remember. I mean, I don't really need to have my ticket scores anymore. I'm literally in my own crew. Anyway, I'm so sorry. First of all, a lot of smaller crews are super caring, like super great. Like they're full of really great people. But sometimes because they rank pretty low, not a lot of people get to see what it's like. And sometimes the admins don't really actively recruit, so you never really hear of them. But I think it's just in general really important to remember that the big eventing crews aren't everything. Like, some are really overrated. I'll just say it right now. I'm not going to name names, but some of y'all are overrated. And the only reason that small crews don't really rank that high a lot is just because people won't give them a chance, and it's really, really sad. But if you ever, like you listening, if you ever want to take like a small break from eventing hard, try giving a small crew a chance, because you can get to know people that aren't normally in your circle, and I guarantee that you'll meet people that you can make long-lasting connections with. So when I was first starting out in high rise, making art almost every day, must be nice to be like that. I met a ton of people that helped me grow my profile just because we were in a small tight-knit crew, and eventually those people became my friends, and they helped me build connections with more well-known people that I could talk to about art and stuff, and then those well-known people helped me build connections with even more people, and then it just goes on and on and on. I actually met a staff member because of these people in my crew who were just like recommending that I talk to them. And that was my first interaction with a staff member, and then that staff member actually helped me like a lot with my commissions. Like they told me, you need to charge more, girl, you need to get yourself out there because you have potential. And I think without them I would not be very like confident in my art, because back then my art was awful, and they told me that I had potential, and that really inspired me because it's a staff member. So my point is, you can build really, really special connections. Without them, I would not be who I am today. It's just really special how a small community, like a small crew, can just help you in the long run. Like, people in that crew are, like, they still know me to this day, even though if we don't talk anymore, like, sometimes they'll be like, hey, Ari, like, I haven't talked to you in a long time, how are you, etc. They still remember me, and it's so crazy, because I literally met them, like, over maybe not over almost 2 years ago actually. Especially if you're well known, you can help people in those small crews get to where you are today too. Like, it doesn't take that much effort to just reach out a helping hand and just help people in our community. You know, people always preach like, oh, why isn't our community more supportive? Like, why, like, what happened to the community? It's not as fun as it used to be. The thing is, like, nothing will change unless we actually try to make a change. Like, my point in making this podcast was an attempt to make a change, an attempt to reach out to people, and I would say that it sort of worked. I mean, I've met so many people because of this podcast, like so many, and they're not even all like well-known people. Like, I've met tons of like lesser known people, and I've built a lot of connections with those type of people, and I'm really, really happy that this podcast has done that, because that's kind of what I want to see. You know, I want to see people from different groups getting to know each other and just bonding over one thing, which is high rise. Like, we're all into high rise in some way, and it doesn't take that much to just reach out, even if they're not in your circle. You just have to try, you know, just try. If you don't like it, you don't have to ever do it again. But if you don't try it, then, you know, it's a missed opportunity in my opinion. So anyway, on the other hand, crew hopping also taught me a lot about drama and who to stay away from. So, like I said earlier, I'm not really in tune with current events on high rise all the time. You know, I'm not really that type of person to like seek out drama. I don't know who would ever do that. But there were crews that I've been in where all the members felt like family to me, and then there were some crews that felt like family and then ended up turning on me. I can like vividly recount on how this happened with me one time. Someone got into my account and started like saying really, really offensive stuff in the crew chat, and then everyone was just like freaking out at me, and the crew owner like messaged me and was like, hey, that's not nice to say. And then I had to like tell them like, dude, that wasn't me, that was someone else on my account. And then they're like, you know what, I'm so disappointed in you. I think they thought it was me, but literally wasn't. They were like, I'm so disappointed in you, you can't be setting this kind of example for people who just joined. And I was like, okay. They were like, you have to leave the crew, man, like you have to leave. And I was like, what? Are you really gonna kick me out for something that, first of all, I didn't do, second of all, I apologize for, even if I didn't do it, and then third of all, because I'm setting a bad impression on a new member that you've literally like just met? Like, I've been in the crew for months, and you're gonna kick me out over one instance like that? That wasn't even my fault. And then I didn't tell him that, but you know, I'm letting out all my feelings right now, even though this happened like a year ago. But like, I'm just saying, like, it just shows me people's true colors. And you know what happened after that? This is like tea. Anyway, you know what happened after that? I left, right? Because, you know, I'm a good compliant crew member and I will leave if they really want me to. Unlike some people who piggyback. Anyway, I left the crew, and then no one messaged me, by the way. One admin actually messaged me. One of the admins who was there when it happened messaged me. They're like, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I know it wasn't your fault. I don't know why they made you leave. Like, I know it wasn't your fault. And I was like, thank you for being the only person who messaged me, because this one person who I was talking to, like, who was like becoming my friend, was like, dude, I can't believe you did that. I can't be friends with you anymore. And I was like, I literally didn't do it. Like, I explained to them that I didn't do it, and then they're like, I can't believe you, and I was like, okay, then don't, bye. I didn't say that like that. I literally did not say that. But like, in my head, I was just like, okay, well, if you don't believe me, then that sucks, you know, I don't really care, that's okay. But, you know, it really sucked that only one person reached out to me out of the 50 that were there. One person. I think they tried to get me back into the crew, but I'm not really sure anymore. I don't really remember. But like, it like I said, it just showed me like people's true colors. Like, I thought that crew was like family to me, but you know, now I just know who to stay away from. You know, I don't talk to them anymore. The person who helped me out, or tried to help me out, not active anymore, which really sucks because she was really cool. But I don't like holding grudges, but if they're gonna act like that with me and still not reach out to me after all that time, I don't see a reason in trusting them, you know. So anyway, that felt nice to let out. I've never talked about that before. I've only talked about it like once with the friend who was in my account, and then I've never talked about it since, and that was nice to let out. Anyway, that's my tea. Another thing when it comes to drama is that most of the time people in my crews know what's happening before me. So honestly, they're kind of my source of info at times. Like they've helped me, some people, like some of my crews helped me be informed of scammers, especially when I didn't know how scamming even worked when I was just starting. They helped me be informed of like problematic people in general. Even now, like people on my crew, they tag me in posts of like people saying, don't let this person into your crew because they've done this and this and this. And that actually really helped me one time, because one of those kinds of people were trying to message me to get into my crew, and literally right as they messaged me, someone was like, don't let them in. And I was like, oh, why? And then they showed me and I was like, oh shoot. I wouldn't have known if you didn't tell me. I don't know, it helps me be informed personally. So I think over the 2-ish years that I've been on high rise, I've been in at least 20 crews. At least 20 crews. Actually, I think it's more like at least 30 and at most 50. And it sounds really crazy because it was, but it was really, really fun and it taught me a lot. So if you're in a similar situation like me where you don't really want to be in a permanent crew or you want to event on your own terms like I did, I highly suggest crew hopping. According to that definition. But according to the other definition, which is a perfect segue into my next topic, let's talk about piggybacking, which is, again, let me remind you, it's those who just jump around in crews for the rewards but don't even event or don't make requirements and stuff. These type of people are so annoying. I don't understand how anyone could do that and feel good about themselves, but they exist. People like that exist. Like they really shouldn't, like in the first place. And one thing that I've always heard crew owners and admins and like literally everyone complain about is about kicking during events. And to clarify what I mean by that, if you don't really know what the heck this is about, basically you can't kick members in your crew during an active event. So if you're in the middle of a 10-day event like fashion, you can't kick someone out even on day one. You can't kick them out until after the event's completely over. And it's really, really frustrating. Just to tell you why this is a problem, it's really, really frustrating to have a really problematic member stay with you during an entire event. Like they could be collecting your crew rewards and tokens without even eventing. Wait, I don't know why they would collect tokens without eventing, but they could be collecting just your stuff without eventing and just saying really inappropriate, offensive things in the chat, or harassing crew members, or spamming, or just being like really awful in general. I just almost choked. And if they're an admin, they can just be like changing your crew info or allowing anyone to come in, and then high-rise doesn't give us an option to be able to remove them. I mean, I kind of see why this is a thing. I think it's to prevent like admins from abusing their permissions and kicking people before an event ends, so they can have like crew rewards themselves. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of why I thought that's a thing. But how many cases do you even see that like happening in? How many times have you ever seen someone be like, oh man, oh man, I wish we couldn't kick during events? No one asked for that. Why is that a thing? At least if they don't let us kick, they should implement more permissions for admins to do. So if you don't know what I mean by that, I wrote something about this in Highrise's feature suggestion page, so highrise.canny.io. You can suggest features and they'll say if they're gonna do it or not. You should check it out because it's really cool. But anyway, this is basically what I said, okay? So I said, right now, there's not a lot that an admin of a crew can do other than change crew info or accept or reject member requests, etc. So I suggest we either have more abilities as admins and possibly have more staff ranks too, to prevent abuse by admins. So basically, the idea was, if you guys have ever been in a Discord server, it's kind of like that, where you can like set permissions for every role, I kind of wanted that same thing in Highrise, except without that customization. So I kind of thought that they should implement roles where you can have a crew moderator and then a crew admin and then the crew owner, and all of them will have different like permissions, I guess. So for example, the crew mod could maybe like temporarily mute and then mute and kick and see event ranks and tickets and stuff. Then the admin can do what a mod does, but they can also accept and reject member requests, and they can change the crew info, or they can make like chat announcements or pin messages. That's even cooler if you can pin messages in group chats. And then the crew owner can do literally what all the ranks do, except they can also give staff ranks, and then they can blacklist members, etc, etc, etc. Like the list goes on. So my point is, how nice would it be to be able to, first of all, kick players during events? But if we can't have that, how nice would it be to mute, ban, and blacklist players, or be able to pin messages? Like, wouldn't that be cool? And then wouldn't it be cool to like have multiple ranks of staff? So if you want to have like someone in charge of the crew, but you don't want to give them like full access to literally everything, you can have multiple ranks of staff, so you can give like smaller staff roles. Wouldn't that be cool? Because I think that would be cool. It would be really useful for me, because when I was recruiting my admins, I didn't really know them that well, but I still recruited them, and I was really, really reluctant to just give them the admin role because I didn't want them to like mess up my crew or something. So I would like test them first, and then like I wouldn't give them the admin role, but technically they would be an admin in my crew. Like, they'd be in the bio and everything. It'd be really, really cool if I could set them like specifically as like mod, admin, and then I'm owner. That'd be really cool, but I don't know, it's just a suggestion. But the main point from this is we need to kick during events. There's no reason not to. I don't see a reason not to. Let's move on to the next topic. I actually kind of need a water break. I've been talking for too long and I need a break. And another thing that I thought of like just now while I was on my break was RYV should really like update the... Okay, let me explain this a little more. So when you're not in a crew and then you have the option to find a crew, like using the... I don't know how to explain it. There's that like RYV will show you a list of crews, and then you can like choose which one you want to like go to. They should really update that, because the last time I tried doing that, like it only showed me super, super inactive crews, like crews that have been inactive for years. Like, they showed that on the list, and I'm just saying, but that list should be full of like crews that have been active within the last like 7 days or something, because people who are new and are looking for a crew might get really, really sad when they join an open crew that was last active like 2 years ago. So they should really update that. And in general, I think like I talked about this a few times in the high-rise Canio thing, but like there should be like what's it called? There should be like a purge, in high-rise. There should be a purge where they just like delete crews. This sounds so bad, but they should like delete crews that have been inactive for like so long, and in general they should just like disable accounts that have been inactive for so long, because like they're literally like there's no use to having them. Who is gonna like log in after all that time? That sounds really bad when I say it like that, but in gaming communities that I've been in, they've purged like accounts that have been inactive for so long, and it's the purpose of it is just to like, I don't really know the purpose of it. I don't know where I was going with that, but they just purge inactive people, and then it's just really nice for the community because more usernames are available. That's kind of the first thing that I thought of. More usernames are available. It's just nice to have a cleaner player base, honestly. And then going off of that, I also suggested in high-rise Canio that people who are banned permanently, or people who are people who are banned permanently should have their items like redistributed. And I know a bunch of elites are gonna be like, oh, what do you mean? If you get them out again, it's gonna ruin the economy. Here was my idea, right? This is not related to crews at all, but here's my idea, right? Y'all know Minecraft, right? So some Minecraft servers have this thing called auction house, where you can list items for auction, and basically players will bid on it, and then whoever's the highest bid, how auctions work. So my idea was to have, first of all, purge all the inactive accounts. This sounds so bad. Second of all, purge the banned accounts, but instead of completely deleting their items, because that's gonna be really, really, really awful for the economy, and then transfer all their items into an auction house where basically players can bid on their items for a certain amount of time, and then whoever gets the highest bid, their gold will be taken from the account, and then the item will get into their account. Doesn't that sound cool? Because I think that sounds cool, because people who have been inactive, like inactive as in banned, like people who are permanently banned, they can have their items like redistributed to people that will actually use them, you know. I think it's really cool because, you know, they're not going to use them anyway. Like, there's literally no point in them keeping their items if they're never gonna come back. Plus, I think it's gonna balance out the economy a little bit more, because people who have been looking for items for a really long time can finally get those items. Probably people can get really, really good deals, possibly. I mean, honestly, with the way the hires economy is going these days, maybe they'll just overpay for it. But, you know, the point is, why, that'd be a cool idea. Anyway, that was such a long, like, no one cares about this thing. Moving on to actual crew related things, I wanted to talk about stuff that I've learned as a crew admin and as a crew owner. So before I talk about what I learned as a crew owner, let me talk about what I learned as an admin first of all. So first thing that I learned that's pretty important as an admin is to just make yourself known and trusted in the crew. Like, even if the crew owner is on good terms with you, it's really important to connect with the crew members as well, because you're technically a part of the owner, if that makes sense. If the crew doesn't trust you, they might not trust the owner, and that's really, really sad. So make yourself well known, you know, be a good influence. I'm usually pretty shy, and when I was an admin, it was really difficult trying to learn everybody's names and how everybody acts and who's on at what time, but I think it goes a really long way. I don't know, I think earning people's trust as an admin is really important to me, because I kind of needed to do it to not feel useless. Like, the crews that I was admin in, like, they never really gave me a specific job to do. They kind of just said, like, take care of the crew when I'm not there. And it was just really, like, disappointing to know that I'm not really doing anything other than watching the chat go. So, you know, I kind of took the time to get to know everyone and, you know, be there for everyone, make sure that everyone knows that, you know, I'm their gal. So I think that's really, really important, because when you're a crew member and you have that trusted admin, it's just chef's kiss, you know, it's just great. And I remember I used to event for people, because people trusted me as an admin, and it really helped during events where we're going really hard, and I hate that term, where we're trying to rank high and people like couldn't event while they were asleep, and I would be online while they were asleep. I don't know, it just really helped. So another thing is, when you're an admin, the decisions of the crew is not yours to take care of. I'm honestly the type of person who likes to do things and, like, take control of things and make it my own. That sounds really bad, but I just do it because usually in real life I don't really have a lot of control over most things. But, you know, when you're an admin in a crew, it's really important to know that you have to work with other admins, and especially the crew owner, when making decisions, because it's not yours to take care of, it's everyone's in the admin team. Taking it upon your own hands is something that I had to learn not to do as an admin, because I ended up embarrassing myself, and it's kind of just a funny mistake. And I don't know, it just kind of helps with team building skills also. It's nice to know who you're working with, like, alongside you and stuff. And the last thing I learned about as an admin was that it's really important to set an example. Like I said, you don't want to normalize, like, bad behavior, like offensive behavior, I guess, to crew members who are supposedly going to look up to you. Honestly, this is self-explanatory, but, you know, I've been in crews where the admins are just like, ugh, you know, where they're just like, ugh. Moving on, let me talk about stuff that I've learned as a crew owner. First of all, this one sticks out to me a lot, but there are some really tough decisions to make sometimes. You know, even if I'm working with my admins, it's still really difficult to make some certain decisions. Like, I've had to kick players out that I didn't want to kick at all, because they're just so nice and they're good team players and they're just really great. But, you know, sometimes they just don't communicate with us if they're going to miss a requirement, or they just go inactive for days without telling us why, and I just have to kick them because it's not fair to everyone else. And it's even worse when they ask for second chances, because I just feel so bad, and I just can't give them a second chance, you know, because it's just gonna bring the team down, you know, and it'll normalize, like, second chances. And the reason why it's bad to normalize second chances, let me talk about this for a little bit, is just because like if you're going soft on one member, other members are gonna know that you're soft, you know. Other members are gonna know that you can go easy, that you'll go easy on them. And when it comes to people who are actually making bad decisions, you don't want to give them the impression that you're gonna be nice to them when they're doing something bad. So it's important. I mean, to me, I don't really like being strict and stuff, like that's not my thing. But you know, there's times where you can be nice and kind to people who can't be in your crew anymore. Those times you can make those opportunities by, you know, offering to help them find another crew quickly, or, you know, just like wishing them good luck. But there's also times where you need to like not be nice, and personally I suck at doing that, but you know, it's like it's needed because some people just can't get the message the first time. Anyway, another thing that I've learned as a crew owner, especially when recruiting, is that you can't accept everybody, you know. You can't have everybody in your crew, you know. I've had to turn down people who want to join my crew with their highest score being like 14 million tickets, which is 1 million tickets less than my highest requirement. And I know it's kind of petty to do that, but the thing is, you know, if you're off by a little bit, like if you can barely make the highest requirement, then how can I expect you to go above and beyond that, you know? You can't like accept everyone, and it really sucks because some people are really great, you know. I've had to turn down friends, and I've had to turn down people who I definitely trust, just because like I just know that they can't work well with my team, you know. I think the only time where it's really great that I can't accept everyone is when I see people who are shady or suspicious. You know, I make a mini background check on everyone who comes into my crew. I like scroll through their posts and, you know, notice like how they talk to me and stuff. You know, I feel great when I turn down people who are shady. I think that's the only time that it's great. Another thing that I learned is that communication and humiliation is something that needs to be worked on in actually every crew, not just my crew, every single one of my crews that I've been in. It's really important to tell admins when you can't make requirements, and a lot of people who have been kicked from my crew get confused with this because they're like, oh, you only care about the tickets and you only care about, you know, me making a requirement, like you don't care about my real life. And that's absolutely not true. The reason why I kick people most of the time is just because they're not communicating at all. Like, you need to tell your admins when you can't make a requirement, because if we know why, then we won't see you as guilty when you don't make that requirement, you know. But if you just completely ignore us, don't make the requirement, and you get all the crew rewards based on the hard work that everybody else did for you, then it's really, really shady. And that's usually the reason why I kick most of my members. But that's not what I meant. Not most of my members. I mean, that's why most of the members, you know what I mean? Okay. You just kind of have to accept, like, when you're wrong, you know? You have to accept when you know you're gonna fail. That sounds really harsh. Moving on. Just saying, communication is really, really important, and you should try to enforce it as much as you can as a crew owner or admin. The last thing I've learned from being a crew owner, or the last main thing I've learned, because I've learned a lot, but this is the last main thing, is that you're usually in the dark without admins. So at first I thought that I could basically handle the crew by myself, because it's only like 40 to 50 people, and you know, I've handled more people in previous online staff positions, so how bad could it be, right? But I don't think the crew would be anything like it is today without my admins. So I'm usually really busy, and I never really realized how much work I do or how much work that my admins do when I'm not around until recently, and I'm just really, really grateful, because there have been times where I'm not online to remind people of requirements, and there's times where I'm not online to check tickets, and times where drama goes down and I'm not there. So without my admins to take care of it, I'd be so lost, like so lost. And they're just really important to me, and I think it's really important to have admins as soon as you make your crew. And I'm gonna go over this in the next topic, but it's just really important to have people help out, you know. You don't have to be all by yourself in it. Even if you think you can handle it, it's nice to have the extra hands, you know. So my last topic for today, it is dark outside. My last topic for today is basically a guide on how to create your own crew all the way from the beginning. Because, you know, a few people that I've talked to, like who have been in my crew and left to make new crews, have asked me like, hey, how do you make a crew? Can you give me tips? Or some people just generally ask me like, how do you make a crew and stuff. So this is my guide for you, okay? Let's just start from the beginning, honestly. Like, I'm literally taking you from the very, very beginning, okay? So I wouldn't say that the first step to making your crew is to make the crew logo and the crew name and all. I think the first step is to know exactly what the purpose of your crew is. So, for example, are you making a social crew? Is it going to be a top eventing crew? Is it going to be a light eventing crew? And personally, when I was making my crew, I intended it to be kind of like a sort of top crew, but also like light eventing at the same time. Like, I wanted to make it so it was never necessary to spend gold to make the requirements, and I just kind of wanted to make like a family vibe, you know. That was like my thing. I just kind of wanted to make a really comfortable crew. I kind of wanted to keep like my previous crews in mind, and I kind of wanted to implement things that I would have wanted in the old crews that I've been in, and then make it my own. So first of all, if you want to make your own crew, but it's going to be really similar to other crews that already exist or that you've already been in, I highly suggest that you just join a crew instead of making one. And also, if you're not ready for long-lasting commitment and difficult decisions and like basically everything that I've already talked about in this episode, I also highly suggest that you join another crew, because I think it's better to support other crews than just making your own and having it possibly flop, because it's just going to be a waste of 200 gold. So if you're not 100% ready, like 100%, like 1000% ready, or if you haven't thought about it this much, then just don't do it. You gotta give yourself some time thinking about it before you actually do it, because you might not be ready, you know? And for me, I mean, I kind of thought about making my own crew for a super long time, like for months, because I had been crew hopping for months. You know, it just took me a long time to think about, because I was like, I've never taken care of a crew before, like by myself. I've only been an admin, and I've only had like the experience in other online gaming communities and stuff. Like, that's all I've really had. And I'm not up to date with crew drama or anything like that. Like, I was sort of in the dark, but I was like, yeah, I really want to make this crew. I think it's gonna do well. And, you know, here I am. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's getting there, I guess. So anyway, next step is to think about the type of members that you want to recruit. So do you want to have old experienced players, or players that are new and don't know how to event but you'll teach them? Or do you want to recruit artists or light eventers? Just kind of keep in mind that these people are going to stay with you most likely for months. So try to pick a group of people that you wouldn't mind working with for a really long time. So I find that people who make crews to recruit top eventers but aren't top eventers themselves really struggle to keep their members for a long time, and vice versa. So try to recruit people that you could see in your circle. So if you're not that great of an eventer, you should probably admit to yourself that you're not there yet, and that you need to recruit people that can help you and work with you, and, you know, I don't know how to explain this. Try to recruit people that, you know, are on your same level, you know. So the next step in this is to finally pick your logo and name. So I know this is kind of stereotypical, but be unique. It's easier said than done, I know, but it's really, really important that you have a crew logo and name that can appeal to whoever your intended group of members are. So if you're intending on creating like on recruiting like dark and edgy members, don't make your logo bright pink, you know. So another side note to this is, you know, when you add like different shapes and patterns on your logo, it can be kind of distasteful. So when I say make your logo unique and stuff, I don't mean like go all out and just be as messy as possible. You know, these kind of logos can be really unattractive to some people, especially because it's going to be one of the main things that you see on the profile. And these types of logos can make your crew look new and unpolished. And even if it is new, you know, it'll just make it unpolished. So in this case, remember that less is more. Try to be as minimalistic as possible, or try to, like, if you're going to use like multiple patterns, like at least make sure that they look actually good together, especially with the colors. Don't make it like 600 different colors, okay? Keep it simple, you know. And when it comes to names, be classy. So remember that the name in the logo is basically an outsider's first perspective of your crew, so don't scare them away with like vulgar language in your crew name, even if it's like funny, I guess. And just be appropriate with your crew names, because you don't know how many crews I've seen with the name Cloud. There are so many. There's so many. I have a screenshot, or I had a screenshot, I don't know where it went, but I had a screenshot of like these 5 crews in a row that all had like the same like white-ish logo and all had like variations of the word cloud in it as their crew name. They literally like were all stacked up on top of each other, and it was really, really funny. So now moving on to your bio, keep this also simple and straightforward as well. So your crew bio is kind of like a second impression. So if you list like a bunch of like wordy rules and requirements to get in, people might not even read all the way through, even if it's really important info, or even worse, they can just like scare them away completely and make them like uninterested. So all you really need in your crew bio is the list of admins if you have any, and the most important rules to know and your requirements. And if you want to get fancy, you can add like the creation date of your crew and like dividers and like a catchphrase or a quote, just like as long as you keep it neat and easy to access and easy to read, and it's just all good. So now that your crew is completely made, it's time to recruit. So when you're making a recruitment post, make it unique as well. Actually, like honestly, everything about making a crew is just make it unique, make it unique, make it unique. But it's true, make it unique. You just kind of want to make sure it stands out, especially if you're going to tag like hashtag crew explore or hashtag recruiting and stuff. Everyone's like seeing that typical recruitment post of like the admin's avatars posing in beta with the phrase like, this crew is recruiting, PM an admin to join, and then the list of recs. Like, we've all seen that. So just have fun with it and be creative and pretend it's like an advertisement. Pretend like your recruitment post is going to be seen in a magazine. Like, literally, that's exactly what it is, actually. It's an advertisement. So include things that might make your crew special. So for example, when I was making my crew, I made it very, very, very clear. Like, I made it like the main focal point that we don't participate in collecting in casino, which is like 2 people's least favorite events. Like, I made that super clear because that can reach out to a lot of people, And then nowadays, I've made my recruitment poster follow the theme of our crew, like pastel goth, by making it into a Ouija board, and you should check it out, if you can. And it honestly, like, when I see it in the sea of like other recruitment posts, it stands out a lot because it's like bright pink and it's literally a Ouija board. And I don't know, it just stands out in my opinion. So also remember to make this simple as well, following the same rules as everything else. Here's some things to avoid when making a recruitment post. So avoid text posts. I only make text posts if I'm in a rush to find members, but if you're starting out, this is not a good option because it's really boring to look at and no one really wants to read that much. And try to avoid videos as well, because most people aren't going to be really bothered to watch the whole thing, even if it's really short. And on normal high-rise, you don't even see like the thumbnail for the video is usually not seen, like it glitches out, so you can't really see them. And then sometimes the video won't even play all the way through. So I think the only good way to use a video is by having like a still image, but then having other things like moving around it in a loop, but otherwise it's not that great of an option. And if you're advertising in rooms, just keep it short and snappy, kind of like the same with if you're promoting your storefront. So don't make like a long paragraph of like, oh, we're recruiting and here's our recs and PM this person. No, just say like, we're recruiting, more info in the crew bio, something like that, something like really short and something that will kind of maybe draw people into your profile and to see your crew and stuff. Keep it really like, like vague, but not too vague that people aren't interested, And then most importantly, when you do eventually recruit a few members, remind them to help recruit as well. So allow them to invite their friends and repost your recruitment post and promote in rooms. It really, really helps a bunch, especially if people bring their friends, because they're going to be more likely to stay, and it helps make like a really friendly like family vibe, I guess. And then just keep repeating this, like keep actively pushing to recruit until you're satisfied with how many members you have, and don't ever give up just because your numbers are low for a little bit. Like, if you've put in a lot of effort and everything is just how you want it, someone is going to be bound to join, even if it's just 1 or 2 people. And those 1 or 2 people will help you a lot, I promise. Because when I was just starting to make my crew, I literally had no one. I was just by myself and then my best friend with me, and I recruited one person, and then I was like, hey, invite people if you want, and then they're like, okay, and then I just went to a bunch of rooms and started promoting with me, and then they helped me recruit a bunch of people. You just have to be patient and just make sure that you're working hard, because I literally recruited for 3 days straight, non-stop. Like, it was the only thing I promoted in rooms, and I eventually got to like 20 members in 3 days, and that was pretty cool. So if you intend to be a decently ranking crew, don't be surprised if you're ranking low in your first event. It honestly like takes time, and having 40 people versus 30 really makes a difference. So keep reminding your members that it's just a start and things will get better, and to not give up, and obviously keep on recruiting. Like, even if you think like, oh, I'm fine with just 30 members, don't be fine with 30 members. Keep on going, because what if 10 of them leave or something? You should have like a backup plan. So recruit more members. And when it comes to admins, I cannot stress this enough, but only recruit admins if you're really confident in them and you really trust them. It's really important that you're 100% sure that you can leave your crew up to them. It's really important, because they can abuse their powers if you don't trust them that much. And I think ways to test them can be like, observing them in chat and watching out for how active they are. Or you can ask them interview questions. I've done that. And you can give them scenarios. I've also done that. Just make sure that you don't give someone admin just because they're like begging you to, or just because they say, oh, I have past experience and blah blah blah. You need to like test them. You need to like really like intensely like put them to the test, because in the case that something bad does actually happen in your crew, you have to be confident that they will be there if you're not. Also, when it comes to admins, make sure not to overload them with work, especially when they're just starting out. So the way I chose responsibilities for my admins is I just gave them each one aspect of what I had been doing all by myself. So for example, I had someone who took care of recruiting, and then I had someone who took care of ticket checks, and then someone who moderates a chat, and then someone who builds new rooms. And I like to think that my job is to overlook everyone, and then keep a positive image for the crew, fizzle out drama between members or outsiders in general, and just make sure everything's running smoothly. So dividing the work is really important, and I think the more admins you have, the easier it'll be for you, because it's kind of like the same with high-rise staff. The more staff there are, the easier things will be. But I personally like to keep as few admins as possible in my crew, because having more than 5 isn't really necessary for a group of 50, especially if you're all in different time zones. But that's just because my crew is not that large. So if you want to go extra fancy with your crew, here are some other extra ideas. So you can create a secondary crew if you're a top eventing crew. Members can just freely go in if they can't make a requirement, and this is really nice because people know that they're still welcome in the crew even if they can't be a part of it for now. And if there are multiple people in the second crew, they can still kind of rank in events if they want to. Plus, a secondary crew is really nice to have for people who just want to take a break in general. It helps you keep track of who's in the main crew and who's just temporarily gone. And then another thing that you can make is a crew account, which is, oh my gosh, it's so important, especially for me. So for example, if you use the crew chat to make announcements, not everyone's gonna see it, especially if you have an active crew chat, and especially if you have people in different time zones. So having an announcement account is super helpful. It helps people access important info easily. I personally like to keep my crew account private, because if we're gonna strategize for something, I don't want other potential competition to see what we're planning to do. So I keep it private, and also I host giveaways on my crew account, and I don't want people who are not in our crew to try and enter. So anyway, speaking of crew giveaways, hosting crew giveaways and crew bonding events can be really fun. So especially the bonding events, because it helps people get to know each other, and it kind of just makes your crew more unique, because not a lot of crews do this. I actually hosted a crew event a few weeks ago, and it was really fun, and I'm planning to host another one very soon. So it's just really nice to see your crew members as friends instead of people that you just work with. I think that's everything, honestly. So soon, with enough work and time, your crew will take flight. And it's been 5 months since I've made creepy cuties, and I really hate saying that out loud. I don't know why, it just doesn't come out of my mouth correctly. It's been 5 months since I've made my crew, and it's still in the works. Like, it's not perfect, like I said, but there's always room to improve, you know, growth mindset, you know. But honestly, I wouldn't have asked for better crew members and admins than the ones I have right now, and they're really, really great, and I'm really, really grateful. And you know, that's gonna be it for this episode. It's gonna be a long one, I can tell. I've been recording for an hour and a half. But anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to listen to my other episodes. I talk about a ton of stuff, from, you know, how grabs are rigged, to the growth of the economy, to how grab competitions can be improved. I talk about a lot of stuff. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in anything hires related, I've probably talked about it. And I've actually heard that people like listening to my episodes while they're drawing or while they're eventing. So if you're ever in that position, you should totally listen, because apparently it's really nice to listen. I don't know, I've never done it. So anyway, yeah, I've been talking for too long. My mouth is like is like fizzing up. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, when you're talking for too long and too fast, your mouth just doesn't want to work anymore. Like, you have no idea how many times I've repeated sentences in this episode. You're not gonna hear them because oh my gosh, because I've edited them out. Oh my god. Anyway, that's so irrelevant. Anyway, oh my gosh, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for supporting me and being really, really great and sticking around for this long. I know it's gonna come to an end soon, but you know, it sucks to suck. Anyway, I'll see you guys maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks. I don't know, we'll see. You guys are gonna really, really love these next 2 episodes. I think they're gonna be really, really great. So yep. That's all for today. Again, thanks so much for listening, and goodbye. Pick up the mic and make some